Good morning. Thank you for joining us for this joint committees on the committee with the Committee on Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs, and our good friends from the Committee on Energy, Economic Development and Tourism. It's 9:45 on this Tuesday, April 18th in room 225. This hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. If there's any kind of technical glitches, we will put out a public notice as to when we are going to reconvene. We're going to limit testimony to 1 minute for each of the two resolutions in front of us. First is House Concurrent Resolution 117, urging the counties to put townhomes in the residential permitting process. For our testifiers, we have Brian Maddox from Palihua Townhouse Association has submitted testimony in support. Sherry Pollock from 350 Hawai'i in support. William Chang, as well as Alani White, individuals all in support. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 117? Welcome, Angela. So what was your real name? Okay, Angela.
It's Mandarin. Aloha chairs, vice chairs, and the committees. Angela Melody Young testifying on behalf of CARES in strong support. So in March 2023, in the zoning meeting at the City Council, the director of DPP talked about how they're addressing backlog. They're working on Bill 56 and others to provide more streamlining. And DPP is meeting with outside stakeholders to figure out together what can be considered to build upon the existing regulations and requirements to expedite processes. And DPP has conducted 3 task forces and 3 stakeholder groups. The 3 stakeholder groups are affordable housing, solar, and the general permitting process. So new technology and additional software for DPP is being considered to synchronize processes, and this achieves the goals to integrate data and expedite procedures. And it is designed to reduce errors and loss of data, all the while helping with transparency and communication across departments. So not just at the Honolulu permitting department, but elsewhere, like in Los Angeles and in New York, they're also addressing backlog. So a lot of the government permitting processes are they need support from staff, and then also without the right building permitting solutions.
Angela, can you summarize?
Okay. They will be even more backlogged. So yeah, we're just testifying in support, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 11-7? If not, members, any questions for Angela? Okay, we're going to move on to the next item on.
Nobody else that we have to ask questions to?
No, we only have written testimony submitted by the 4 individuals.
Okay.
Sorry. The next measure on our agenda is HCR 160 HD1. Establishing business improvement districts in the state. And on our testifiers list, we have Chris Sadayasu, DBED.
Morning, chairs, vice chairs, committee members, Scott House, and DBED,
Thank you. Thank you. Scott. Chamber of Commerce of Hawaii has submitted testimony in support, and Gerald Silva has submitted testimony in opposition. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Oh, hi, Angela. Welcome back.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young testifying in strong support. So did you know that there are about 140,000 small businesses in Hawaii, and this makes up for 99.3% of all Hawaii businesses. And with about 270,000 small business employees, that's about 50% of Hawaii's employees, all employees. So businesses are, integral to Hawaii. And so let's get a picture also of what it looks like at the federal level when we talk about business and economics. So at CASE, from the House Committee on Appropriations, responsible for all federal discretionary spending, announced actions that were sought and secured to strengthen Hawaii and its people. HR 2471, the Consolidation Appropriations Act of 2022, passed Congress and was signed into law. And this measure will help strengthen the tourism sector, small business development, and it will assist with economic diversification as the economy continues to recover from COVID. And in the words of Ed Case, Hawaii small businesses are the lifeblood So Hawaii small businesses are the lifeblood of our state. While the average small business in Hawaii employs just 12 people, as a whole, Hawaii small businesses still employ a majority of our workforce. And the Appropriations Committee's efforts to expand assistance to small businesses will advance the backbone of our economy. So hence, we are in support of small businesses and the small business improvement districts that the resolution is seeking to legislate. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on HCR 160? Members, any questions? If not, we're going to take a brief recess prior to taking the vote. Thank you for your patience. We're now reconvening the Committee on Public Safety, Intergovernmental and Military Affairs and the Committee on Energy, Economic Development and Tourism for decision-making on two resolutions. The first is HCR 117. This is encouraging the counties to include townhomes in the residential permitting process for the installation of solar panels. I think this would just be a good little nudge to get more rooftop solar on our residences, whether it's single-family dwellings, apartments, or now townhomes, hopefully in the future. So I'd like to make the recommendation that we pass this measure as is. Any discussion for PSM members?
I don't know. I share the concerns of Mr. Gerald Silva, but I'll support you, Chair.
Okay, be bold. Any more insightful comments? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Okay, Chair's recommendations to pass HCR 117 as is. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator McKelvey.
Yes.
Senator Awa.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Thank you.
And on the Committee on Energy, Economic Development and Tourism, same recommendation, chair vote aye. Vice Chair votes aye.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim is excused. Senator Favela.
Reservations.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted. For the next measure, HCR 160, this is urging mayors and councils of the city and county of Honolulu, county of Maui, county of Big Island, Hawaii, county of Kauai to establish business improvement districts as special improvement districts. So we can spur a little bit of economic development throughout the state. And I'd like to pass this measure out as is. PSM members, any discussion? If not, Senator Elefante, I vote yes.
Okay, of the 5 members present from PSM, any no votes or votes with reservations? Hearing none, Mr. Chair, recommendations adopted.
Same recommendation?
Yeah, sorry, same recommendation, chair votes aye.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga. Senator Kim's excused. Senator Favela.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Morning and aloha and welcome to our 10 a.m. Hearing with the Senate Committee on Energy, Economic Development and Tourism. Today we have 2 GMs on our agenda. This meeting is being live streamed on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business at a date and time to be announced, and a public notice will be posted on the legislature website. Please note we have a 1-minute time limit per testifier. And for these governor messages, we'll first take testimony, then give the nominees a chance for a short opening statement before the committee asks questions. So on the first GM, 638, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, gubernatorial nominee Matthew Sullivan for a term to expire June 30th, 2027. First testifier up, Len Higashi from HTDC.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee, Len Higashi, Hawaii Technology Development Corporation. Happy to provide testimony in support of confirmation of Mr. Matthew Sullivan. Available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Patrick Sullivan in support. Jimmy Harris in support. Susan Yamada in support. Landon Buckley, Judy Morris, Keone Nakua, all in support. Jonathan Kim in support. Sarah Nam in support, and Gerard Silva in opposition. Anybody else wishing to testify on behalf of this GM? Seeing none. Oh, do you want to testify? Oh, well, thank you for coming in.
Keep up another son.
Yeah.
Jan Sullivan here to support. Matthew. He'll do a really good job. And he has the background and experience that is needed. Thank you for considering.
Thank you for coming and supporting him. Matthew, if you would like to do an opening statement. And thank you for coming.
Thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee for scheduling this hearing and considering my name for this board. I think technology has become ubiquitous in the economy in the world. It started off kind of as more of a niche industry, but it's with the internet, with COVID, remote work, all these things, it's really become the backbone of every industry. And I feel like we need to do more in the state of Hawaii to diversify our economy, keep local people here, provide good jobs, help to balance out against the cost of living here, which continues to rise. And I know the state is, we're working on efforts to build housing and things like that, but the other side of the equation is good jobs here, local jobs. So I'm 37, I'm relatively young in this room, but in the tech industry, I'm relatively old. My peers are in their 20s now. So I started my first company in my mid-20s and spent about 10 years in Silicon Valley, running it, raising money, recruiting a team. So I feel like I have relevant experience, good experience that I can bring to HTDC and hopefully help us collectively build a better, diverse economy here. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Thank you for wanting to serve. Members, do you guys have any questions? Senator Mackay.
Thank you for stepping forward. We've been talking about growing the tech sector for decades. And we tried everything from tax credits to grants to building co-working spaces, and it's not quite there in terms of creating momentum to grow the industry as you see the possibilities. So if you're on the HTDC board, what are you going to do differently to help actually spark an innovation economy?
I think the first thing is learn what we've tried and what has worked or not worked. I've been away for 15 years since high school, and there's a lot that's been tried. My mom, my dad, they've been in tech for a long time. It's one perspective. Getting to know Len, another perspective, and other members of the board. So I think just trying to first start out understanding what have we tried, what has worked, what has not. I think the second is the world is rapidly changing. The internet, COVID, artificial intelligence. I don't know if you've been following a lot of the work with OpenAI and ChatGPT and controversy around plagiarism at school using artificial intelligence and automating jobs. And the world is moving at a very rapid pace, and with that brings opportunities. So I think Hawaii, originally geography was a big issue, geography and infrastructure around buildings, like physical campuses. I think the world has changed where you can work remotely from anywhere, you truly can, and you need an internet connection. It's really become a knowledge-based economy. So you need people that are smart, which I think we have here, local people, but they need to be trained and they need people with experience to help them. So I think trying to get more younger people involved is important. A lot of the people that supported my nomination, I asked because, you know, they're younger people my age, they're in tech, they want to be here, and they want to make a difference, but they're not really involved in the community. So I think it's a good opportunity.
So you're saying that engagement of young people earlier in life would help, presumably create a pipeline.
I started and failed with when I was remote in California, a nonprofit called Start Hawaii, with the idea of bringing mentorship of people actively in tech with ties to Hawaii to help people in Hawaii grow tech companies. Because there's just not enough people here that have experience on the ground, raising money, competing. And I feel like bringing more people to the table to help each other would kind of accelerate the opportunities. I'd also like us to place, I don't know, maybe, you know, the work that we're doing at HTDC, I think is foundational. I think there's an opportunity to try maybe newer, riskier bets in small ways to see if they pan out. Sort of, if you're a tech investor, you maybe invest in a whole bunch of early stage startups to see what works. And for things that do, you double down, you put more money in. I think the same type of approach can be taken here to see what can really work. And I know we're doing a whole lot of things in Hawaii. I still need to get a full understanding of what those things are, but to try to take higher risk, higher reward bets, because we can't compete with Silicon Valley the way that they do, can't compete with a lot of the other places in the country and the world that are trying to build tech. We just don't have the resources. So we need to do things differently, and we need to play to our strengths here.
Thank you. Senator Fovell.
Yeah, that's all my questions.
Senator.
Maybe one follow-up would be to build upon your comments about the Assure 100 startup, you know, which had gone through a lot of different iterations as that product was being developed. Could you talk a little bit about the background of how Oceanet raised money for that product and where you eventually ended up having to go in order to make it possible?
So one of the challenges in Hawaii is there's a lack of startup capital. So if you look at the other companies that did rapid tests, a lot of them raised money from investors. We don't really, it's a lot harder for companies to do that here. You usually need to move to the mainland, which, you know, Oceanet, that's not something we're going to do. So what we did is went after federal money to try to convince the federal government, Defense Department to fund development of a test and then get it to market. So we were able to do that with DARPA, DLA, which is the Defense Logistics Agency. They provide all the equipment, medical equipment. And we were able to get a test to the market with that. I think we sort of, it was difficult to do it in Hawaii for many reasons. There's not a lot of infrastructure here to support tests. And we did our best as fast as we could. We have 2 FDA emergency use authorizations now, but we're late to the game, the party per se, with the rapid at-home test. So we missed the market with that. We were a little bit late, but you know, for a small company doing this in Hawaii with really no capital, it was pretty impressive. So I think that's a milestone.
Okay, thank
And
you.
it shows that we can do this,
Yep.
you know, so.
Thank you. Senator Chin.
Morning.
Morning.
Good to see you. As the director of product for Oceanet, you folks have really brought forth to the market a lot of successful products that is be adapted to everyday life. Can you just share a couple with the committee? I had the opportunity of visiting. I don't know if any of you have gone over to Oceanet, but they certainly have been leader. And so if you could just share a couple of those projects.
So a couple projects. I'm less talkative than my dad, so I'll try to be more talkative and more storytelling. But we developed a new type of artificial intelligence. It takes a face scan using your iPhone. So if you guys have iPhones, it has Face ID, right? It uses infrared light to take a scan of your face. So the problem we were solving for the Air Force was Navy pilots have different nose sizes and face sizes, but you get 6 sizes of masks, and they strap these masks to their face super tight, and they start to get, bleeding and like abrasion and stuff on their nose bridge and other parts of their face. So what we did is we created a way to use the data from the iPhone, scan the face, use AI to do an automatic fit and automatic new creation of sizes. So if you have 6 sizes, we can create 6 more and then get maybe a 90% fit for these masks that these fighter pilots wear. The problem we often face at OceanIT is that's a pretty niche market, fighter pilot masks. Maybe there's a couple thousand in the US. So we looked at what other markets could that be applied to. So we worked on sleep apnea for people that maybe have trouble sleeping. It's a very similar problem where you have these full face masks for some sleepers and they don't fit super well. So my grandmother, when she was older, she had assisted breathing because she was just older. And it created the same abrasion on her nose and her face, and it just was a really bad situation. So what we did is we adapted the same technology to apply to CPAP. So the idea is that you can create a comfortable mask that's low cost, that is safe and effective with the FDA, and uses medical grade materials. So that's one example of a technology we developed originally with Defense Department funds from the federal government and applied it to the medical industry. Another one, the last example, is around power plant efficiency. So we did work with Hawai'i Electric Company. Their power plant out at Kahe, which is I think on the west side. I think that's your district, Senator?
In our area.
Okay. So the problem they have is they need to cool the power plant. So they suck in seawater through these heat exchangers. And they basically have a fish net to keep the fish from getting sucked through. But the problem is all the seawater creates barnacles. So like you park your boat in the marina and it starts to grow things. The same thing happens on a heat exchanger, which cools the power plant. So they have to shut down this heat exchanger unit and clean it every 3 to 6 months. It makes it expensive, inefficient, because you're burning energy you shouldn't have to. So what we developed is a new technology that creates a super slick surface on the heat exchanger that we deployed at HECO at the power plant. And we took down the maintenance cycle from 3 to 6 months to now 6 years ongoing. So we're applying that to the rest of the world now with different power plants to try to reduce the energy usage for any type of thermal power plant, which includes fossil fuels, but also if you're burning wood, if you're doing nuclear, basically 70-something% of the world runs off of thermal power plants. So what we're doing now is trying to scale this technology developed and piloted in Hawaii to the rest of the world. So we're doing jobs in India right now. It's a 500 megawatt power plant powering about 4 million homes. Our first big job in India. We're doing work in Alaska. We're doing work in the Philippines. So there's a lot of exciting technologies we're working on. But at OceanIT, what we're really trying to do is develop technology in Hawaii and bring it to the rest of the world. And I think that example can carry on outside of just what we do at OceanIT, but also into agriculture, food production, I think tourism, we're already doing that. I was just in Japan and you mentioned you live in Hawaii and they're like, oh my God, it's so amazing. So I think we've done a fantastic job with that, bringing Hawaii to the rest of the world and other parts of the economy, but we can do it with tech and related industries.
And hopefully you can bring that to HTDC and some of the ideas.
Hope so.
There's one product that I was interested in, and I know the women here, maybe the men, on the cosmetic
Yes.
aspect, the Koreans I've locked on. So can you just share a little bit of that? Because we want to get it.
So I'm not a cosmetics expert, but I understand Korea leads the market with new cosmetics. And one of the things that is very popular is products with gold in it. The problem that we're solving is gold doesn't suspend well in these cosmetic creams. So we created a way to suspend it so it has shelf stability for multiple years and it's also safe. So the idea is that you can now apply a cosmetic with gold, which helps with anti-aging. The science is still up for debate on the effectiveness. Interesting thing about the cosmetics industry is it's not FDA regulated. So
It's multi-billion-dollar.
it's a huge industry.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a fun project to work on.
Okay, you have to provide us with samples
let
of
you
this
know.
anti-aging creams.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
No. So Matt, thank you for being here, and I'm sure, would, what do you call, enhance or upgrade the value of your face if we get gold in them. So I can see where that going, but you're so diverse in what you've done. And I gotta agree, as a user of CPAP, you guys need to help Phillips because they still need to get their recall down pat. I think your mom and your dad did a great job with you, and if your dad could see you now, sometimes somebody gotta talk more than the other one anyway, but your qualifications far exceed what I'm glad to have someone at your age level involved with. But I wanted to ask you this one question. With all the background and expertise you have with technology, because technology truly is a wave of the future for us. I'd like to see how do you get the younger generation more involved with the community involvement part of it? You alluded to that a little earlier.
I think it starts with early engagement with students, and that's a lot of work that we've done at Oceanit. We did a program with teaching teachers how to program these little robotic cars, and then have them teach the students a curriculum of how to program an autonomous car. Software development these days is a lot easier than it used to be, a lot more accessible, but I think students need to be exposed earlier on to the tools. Like when I was in elementary school, we had class where you learned how to type. Or a class where you learned how to write script. Maybe
Like real typing or
real typing.
real typing.
And
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention, so I still don't know how to type properly. My mom gives me a hard time about that, but I do my best. But I think it's trying to integrate some of these, learning how to use technology earlier on so it's more approachable. So if you look at young kids today, using gaming, right, is kind of a second nature for a lot of kids. I think we can do the same with robotics or coding, or there's a lot of overlap with learning how to do things, creating interactive interfaces to teach them early on. I think it doesn't stop there though. I think we at Oceanit try to have interns every summer, and they're usually people that are freshmen, sophomores in college, to try to give them an idea of the type of work you can do in STEM and do in Hawai'i. So I think part of it is also making it seem possible to do that kind of work here, because I think a lot of people just assume you can't. There's no jobs here, or too hard to start something. But I think if you start younger, it's a lot more approachable, and I think you can get more young people to be excited about it.
I remember in the day when we would build cars without the technology part of it, and then you had to run it down the slide where you put too much weight on it, right? And now where we just electrify it. Those were the days of and changing over and transitioning into technology.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you wanting to serve this capacity. And if anybody has any other questions, with it. So I want to thank you. And then we're going to go on to the next GM and then do our decision making. So thank you, Matt, for coming. So next up we have is, I hope I'm saying this correct, Chasin, first testifier, Craig Nakamoto.
Morning, Chair Wakai, Vice Chair DeCoit. I'm sorry, Chair DeCoit, Vice Chair Wakai, members of the committee. Really appreciate the opportunity to testify in support of Chasen Ishii. He is the at-large nominee, gubernatorial nominee for the HCDA boards. My name is Craig Nakamoto, Hawaii Community Development Authority's Executive Director. I feel like I have a tough act to follow, following Mom and Mr. Sullivan talking about technology. But nevertheless, a serious topic. I've had the great fortune of working with Chair Ishii for the last year. His business acumen and background bring a different, sort of perspective to the HCDA boards. He also served as a member of the Permitted Interaction Group that established the strategic vision for the agency. And that was approved in November of last year. that vision essentially sort of creates this pathway for the future of the agency to really say, well, we have our community development districts, but we also want to be able to help other state agencies in infrastructure development, other things. And I think that is the kind of vision that Chair Ishii brings to the agency. And I'm just grateful that he's willing to spend the hours to put into the preparation for the board meetings. He, unlike a Kaka'ako board member who sits on one board, Mr. Ishii actually sits on all of the boards as an at-large member. He's, he chairs all the boards, so he sits on all the boards. So I know he spends a lot of hours preparing for the meetings, asking thoughtful questions at the meetings, and I'm just grateful to have him be a part of the board, and I totally support his nomination.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Apologize for it.
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Next up, Lon Peressa in support, David Rodriguez in support, and Gerard Zimlet in opposition. And if we could have Justin come up and say a few words. Thank you.
Morning, Chair Ducoit, Vice Chair Wakai, Senate members. First of all, my name is Jason Ishii, and I have been with the HCDA board now for 4 years, chaired for a little bit. HCDA. It's very interesting for me because when I first joined HCDA 4 years ago, it was my first interaction in public service type duty. Coming with over 30 years of leadership experience. In fact, my last 2 major positions were president of Hawai'i Bank Properties, both in the residential commercial real estate for over 15 years, and now currently as the president of Atlas Insurance for over 7 years. Had a lot of vast experience in working with the business community, and working with running corporations and organizations. And so for me, it was very interesting getting involved with public sector like the CDA and getting involved in really what I consider very important for the state, and that is building communities. That is really the goal that we're looking at, that I look at from an HCA perspective, is that bringing my business experience and balancing it with the level of continuity, hopefully from a conservation perspective, to then move forward with HCDA to help us achieve our strategic initiatives that we have going with the board. There's a vast different diversity depending on the different districts. Executive Director Nakamoto had explained that chair and an at-large member, I'm on every board, like from Kaka'ako to Kailailoa to E'ia, and eventually Huapule Nui with Maui. And so having to be able to pivot and really learn about the community of each different sectors is so vitally important because they're so unique and so important in its own facet. And so with that,
Thank you. Members, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Ishii. It's very refreshing to hear about the strategic plan for HCDA. And of particular importance is really the need to kind of upgrade infrastructure. So I was very happy to see that the strategic plan does target, some of the areas that have not received adequate infrastructure support. And I guess to start that effort in Central Kaka'ako, the legislature had appropriated some planning funds. Is it the board's, long-term direction that you envision some of the Central Kaka'ako infrastructure upgrades as coming primarily from the city? Or, do you see kind of a shared partnership approach as being, the way that the agency plans to go? Because I know Central Kaka'ako is extremely deficient in infrastructure. So if we envision the city undertaking that responsibility, I think the city is going to need a lot of help. But, I think that's a welcome direction because for so many affordable housing projects, without adequate infrastructure, it is really difficult to undertake fast tracking of affordable housing.
Right. And, you know, an ACDA, and Craig could expand on it probably a little bit better than I can. And we really kind of focus on the collaboration perspective, right? We really got to get involved, private enterprise, public sectors, and then the community stakeholders. I mean, that to me is the key, right? For what we need to do to achieve what we need to achieve at ACDA. It's not just one entity. We need to make sure that all the stakeholders are involved in the discussion as we go forward. So it depends on what district, what area, what project. I think it's very important that we communicate and collaborate.
Thank you. I think that's very refreshing to see, you know, that your view of HCDA is kind of like a collaborative agency to bring a lot of the various stakeholders together, and appreciate, you know, your direction in that sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, we can
okay.
take that
Okay.
at another time.
Senator Kim.
Hi, good morning, Jason. I'm just impressed with how you're able to balance everything with your job, being, you know, president of Atlas, right? You're president of Atlas, you're president of HCDA, you sit on all the various boards. How do you balance all of that?
Good question. So when I committed myself to be involved with ACDA, I literally had to resign from 3 other nonprofit boards. And I
Good
did that.
excuse, right?
Well, I still support them, but from a physical and a time perspective, I need to do that. And so ACDA for me is very important because for me, my passion, maybe based on my years of tenure in my career, is really how can we enhance Hawaii and its community? I wanted to be able to get involved with an organization that has an ability to make a difference here today. You know, I've been in the business world for over 30 years, right? Managing companies, managing different organizations. But I wanted to take the next level, the next step, which is probably why all of you are here today, to see how we can make Hawaii a better place, not just for ourselves, but for our kids and for the future. And so this is why I committed myself to be involved with ECD and even take and step up and being the chair over the last year. And literally, I am balancing a lot, and to the point where I try to schedule all of my business trips, all of my different venues around the HCDA meetings so I can attend all of the meetings because I feel that is that valuable. And so, yeah, it's not easy. There is stacks and stacks and stacks of documentation to go through, to read, but it is vitally important.
Well, I commend you and thank you for giving up the time and for doing it because it is a thankless job, but somebody's got to do it, right? And so, but speaking of balance, and you talked about building communities as something that you think is very important and you're passionate about that. But how do you balance building communities with protecting our view planes, protecting our ocean areas? I mean, we've seen what happened in the past, how buildings were built too close to the ocean, how we're running out of sand, and how some of these structures have impacted our environment. So how do you do that in your role and sitting on all these boards? And I know Kaka'ako has been one that has been of controversy as far as how high should we go on the ocean side and are we being fair and so forth.
First of all, to address the Kaka'ako Makai, for example, I feel our role as HCD is to follow the chair. We need to follow what Senate has approved, what the legislature approved, and it's basically my role at this point. If you're asking what my personal opinions are, is that my personal opinion is that we have to look at it from a plan perspective, any development, not just Makai, any development. That whatever we do, it's enhancing it. So, have we done, for example, updated EIS studies? It's important. Like for me, being in the insurance world today, climate changes, climate situations have really vastly changed. Just look at all around us and the hurricanes that are occurring, the floods, the wildfires, all these different elements. Climate change is affecting us. And so we really got to start to take a look at that and see, are we, when we do our plan developments, whenever we look at anything, are these updated information? Do we have the most current information? And so, to me, height limitations, all of these things, I'm okay with it. It's a matter of, is it planned correctly? Is it going to enhance Hawaii? And is it correct for Hawaiians?
How do you balance the different generations that come in? Because of course, there are laws been passed to protect some of the vista, protect the building based on what's happened in Waikiki and on some of the other areas of overbuilding on the ocean side and so forth. And so certain policies and laws have been adopted. And then so now a new generation comes in and saying, well, maybe we should just change the law and just allow everybody to go really high or do this and that side. And how do we do that? How do we maintain? Because when you say planned, the plans change depending on who's in charge, right? The plans change. If you get so many votes in the legislature, you can change
And-
anything. And so,
I agree with you.
but then,
So that's where I see the community, we really got to go out to our stakeholders, right? We have to talk to the community and see what the community, back prior to me being part of ECD, the community had spoken to me.
Right.
So, right. That might have changed. We don't know. But it's a matter of getting involved, getting the stakeholders all involved, and having their voice and see what are they looking at. At ACD, I don't see that's our role. I think our role is really to implement plan, making sure that it is set up infrastructurally correct and to make sure that it's timely.
I appreciate you saying that, and I agree with you to a certain point, because at some point, we are elected, you are appointed to be that stewards, and you get more of the information than the public. The public often don't know all the details, and I know they get upset on certain bills, but they don't see the details, the devil's in the details, right, with the bills, and get the kind of information that we have. And also, there's a lot of propaganda out there. If you're a large developer, if you have a lot of money, if you can run commercials on TV, you can influence the community. You can influence the public to think a certain way, to make the changes, but which may not be necessarily in the best interest of the state and the future and our future generations to come. So I think that kind of stewardship, it takes courage sometimes to be able to stand up and to educate the people as to what is it that we may be giving up, or what is it that we might be restricting ourselves for. So I hope you take that in stride as you go forward, because it is a balancing act. Yeah, how do we do that? So
It is.
yeah, but thank you. Thank you for willing to serve.
Thank you. Anybody? Oh, Senator Wakai.
Thank you for your willingness to serve, Mr. Ishii. Hopefully someday soon, the state is going to go down the road of building a stadium. And the legislation that we passed in the past allows the stadium authority to partner with HCDA for helping pave the way for the redevelopment of that 98 acres. When that day comes, what do you see HCD's additive role in the creation of entertainment district in Hawaii?
I think HCDA can bring a lot to the table, because HCDA's role is really about putting together plan development. And you're talking about an entertainment district center, right? We're not talking just a stadium. And so that takes a lot of planning, takes a lot of infrastructure. It takes a lot of more of a spectrum than just building a stadium. Right? What about the long-term expenses? How is that going to be handled on an ongoing basis? How is that going to be? So this is where I think HCDA, if it was, again, I'm not sure if it will fall under our authority, but if it does, I think that's what we can bring, is to be able to take that step to look at it from a planned perspective versus just a singular perspective, and not just depending only on potentially the private sector or a developer, but being able to look at totality.
Yeah, I think you bring great wisdom, great past experiences, because right now, DAGs, I mean, typical government entity that does design build, and it's got to be different. And I think we need to have a different set of eyes helping push this forward instead of just going nowhere with DAGs leading the charge on this project. Thank you for your insights.
Thank you. So I have a question for you, and I know you brought up Pulehunui in Maui, and it's been a subject matter for many, many years. What is some of your thoughts on that planned area for, it's been talked about putting one prison there. Again, it's been talked about having some kind of community development project outside of that. What would you look forward to in working with the different partners and your role in that portion of Pulehunui?
I think it's a great opportunity for us to have further discussion, especially since we have a new mayor, Mayor Person, who my understanding is very open to development in that area. And so it would be a great opportunity for us to collaborate with the county and really to talk to them about what they see. I've had discussions on the side with others, like the community, and Grant from Halipa'olu and others who are just fantastic stewards in Maui from a perspective of that area, and getting their ideas of what their thoughts are. And that's, I think, what our role would be, is to bring in the county, bring in the right committee members from the county of Maui to get their thoughts and ideas, because you're hearing a lot, right? What about the potential of putting a judiciary development there, putting some courts, or building, bring the attorneys there now. Let's have like a second city there. And so you're hearing all these ideas, and maybe they did halfway houses and halfway homes, but let's make sure the county is behind it and they support it and they feel it's supported as well.
No, thank you. And yeah, it's great working with this mayor. It's very open. And I like your mindset and thought process of, looking at the other partners that's involved. So thank you. Senator Favela.
Yeah. As a current member of the ACDA board, what do you hope to accomplish that you weren't able to accomplish during your first 4 years on the board?
Thank you, Senator Favela. I gotta say, the one thing I wish we could accomplish was really to get a better understanding. So we went from a sort of a large consolidated board to now it's all by district. The challenge was that I think in the past it was too large, right? And I'm glad that we've made these changes, because each community is focused on their needs and their section. Right now, Kailailoa, we can have a better focus in Kailailoa. And so I am looking in the future with excitement, because what we could not accomplish was having it so large that it was harder sometimes to make certain decisions. But with this more specific, more dedicated groups, like if we go to President Maui and so forth, it gives us the ability to make quicker, more concise, more informative decisions. Excellent.
A couple more. In your questionnaire, you stated that you wish to continue on the board to help guide and plan the development in communities. Could you further explain what you mean?
Yeah, like for example, Kailailoa, right? I think the master plan needs to be looked at and amended. It's been a while since we put that master plan together, and that's what I mean about, again, reviewing relooking at some of these things so that we can plan the community in the right manner. You know, we have a lot of infrastructure situations in Kalaimoa. We have traffic flow scenarios that we got to kind of look at and complete. So it's these type of things that I think is important that was unfinished.
We kind of talked about it, kind of read this on paper. What are your thoughts about the redevelopment of the Kaka'ako land and residential use?
As I mentioned to Senator Kim, I just, you know, I feel that currently our role is to follow the law. But I think if we are looking at making a change, that we should really take a look at it once more and look at it from a plan development perspective, and to make sure that the EIS might be looked at once more, that we look at really sort of what the usage of Makai is really truly going to be. And our goal is to support whatever the legislature moves forward as so it's kind of hard because not everyone's fully informed. It's there yet, but I think it's going to be a lot of education, especially for the community, because you do have these areas where you're not full.
Yeah, would have been good if they had asked the people in Papakolea about pro-development before they block out their view, yeah? Anyway, going forward, ideas was talked about. I know Senator Wakai has his own views of the stadium, additional land, working with the Stadium Authority and with HCDA. But if, you know, all kind of come consensus with you guys and with the development of Kaka'ako, and it was kind of brought that to look at the development of the stadium area. I know they're calling them an entertainment district, but we need houses for our communities who need houses. That was the plan of developing the area. And actually they're going backwards because they kicked everybody from Halawa Housing out to build a stadium, and then now we're going to build houses again. Back, you know, going backwards, you know what I mean? So I understand the need for the stadium redevelopment, but would you entertain or be open if, let's say, OHA went to the governor and said, hey, we can't do anything else at Kaka'ako. There's not a portion of the stadium property that we can get so that we can do what we want and go high as we want to generate the money for OHA to continue to build. Because my thing was, I mean, not for OHA, of course, they never, I don't know if they're going to approve them or not. My question is, I wanted OHA to make that as our Hawaii Cultural Center. You don't have to go that high. And the area for the climate change that everybody talk about is that you put the parking, or you insurance, right?
That's right.
It'll be less, what's called, I guess, risk. I don't like to say risk, but you know, you build a parking lot on the bottom, then you build a cultural center and make everything, because Polynesia Cultural Center is not our Hawaiian Cultural Center. That's a Polynesia Cultural Center. We've been talking, neighbor islands been talking, we really need that. So you guys would be open to something like that, sitting with the governor and OHA to recalibrate land that should be developed either at the stadium or at Kaka'ako?
Yeah, very astute, because I always felt personally, right, that Kaka'ako Makai would be what a wonderful venue for Hawaii from a cultural perspective. The ocean is there. It's a beautiful venue. And currently you can still do commercial low-rise building. And why not have a venue with all the local Hawaiian cultural businesses? I just think it would be what an attraction.
This is the last one. So Malama Market.
I'm gonna hold you to that, Joe.
Okay,
No.
so Portuguese last one. Howard Hughes closed the Malama Market because of their so-called redeveloping the area. And almost 2 years ago, Malama Market and OHA and some of us community got together to utilize the same thing what you just was saying. But for whatever reason, they couldn't negotiate that with OHA because OHA still have it in their mind to go that height. So maybe in the future, maybe we can nudge them. So exactly what you just said. They wanted to bring local venue to those buildings so that they could utilize them. And then the people that had Malama Market was willing to do the improvements of the building. And I don't know how that would fall through, but I just wanted to bring it up now, so. Thank you, Chair. How are you?
Thank you, Senator Favela. I appreciate all your questions. So we're gonna decision make, and thank you so
you very
much. I
much.
think you'll make an added addition, and I would like to pick your brain, but we're gonna get cut off. So I know between me and Senator Favela, we might eat up the rest of the day for you.
Next time, Pahana.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Recess. Okay, so thank you for that enlightening discussion we had on the two GMs. I can tell you I'm very impressed with both of you and the addition you guys will make. Thank you for the support on the testifiers also. Not to talk about, wow. So anyway, I want to go ahead on the first GM 638, submitting for consideration and confirmation of Hawaii Technology Development Corporation, gubernatorial nominee Matthew Sullivan. My recommendation is to advise and consent. Committee members, any discussion?
Just want to comment that I think he will continue to make a really good impact for us. And I just hope that one day he considers maybe being on the Board of Regents.
I second that motion. But
Hey,
Chair.
we only had one motion right now.
Sorry.
so-
But Chair, I've only been here not as long as you guys, but I mean, this is one of the areas that I have no idea about, but I've been learning from my young staff about artificial technology and all that, but I'm glad you're there, and I didn't realize you were that old. I thought you were just 22 years old, but I'm glad you're in your 30s, but it's all good. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Wakai.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. Second, GM 639, submitting for consideration and confirmation to the Hawaii Community Development Authority at large gubernatorial nominee Jason Ishii. My recommendation is to advise and consent. Chair votes aye. Vice Chair Wakai for the vote.
Vice Chair votes yes. Senator Fukunaga.
Aye.
Senator Kim.
Aye.
Senator Favela.
Aye.
Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
And with that, we are adjourned. Thank you.